Everybody wanted a Barndominium a few years ago. You can scroll YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram without seeing them. Huge shops, wide open floor plans, and everybody claiming you could build one cheaper than a house. But here we are in 2026, and the question I get all the time now is building a Barndominium still worth it? Or did the hype run out? Today, I'm going to break down the real numbers. What changed since 2020, what's actually happening with costs, and whether building a Barndominium today is a smart move or a mistake. And honestly, the answer might surprise you. If you're new here, this channel is all about Barndominiums, building smarter homes, and real-world construction insights. No Pinterest fantasy builds here, no sales pitch, just the good, the bad, and the reality of building these things. So if you're thinking about building a Barndominium or planning one or already in the middle of a project, this video is going to help you understand whether it still makes sense in 2026. Let's start with the biggest factor, and that is cost, right? Everybody talks about money. Well, one of the biggest reasons Barndominiums exploded in popularity is because people believed they were dramatically cheaper than a traditional house. And a few years ago, that was often true, but construction costs changed a lot between 2020 and today. Right now in 2026, a typical finished Barndominium build costs somewhere between $120 to $200 a square foot. Now, obviously, that depends on a lot of factors, where you live, the levels of finishes you choose inside, and how much work you do yourself. But that range is a realistic starting point. Now, compare that to a traditional residential construction. Many new homes today cost anywhere from $180 per square foot all the way up to $300 a square foot, depending on the area. So, yes, in many cases, Barndominiums can still be cheaper, but the difference isn't as dramatic as it once was. And that's because what happened with building materials and labor over the last few years. Now, we could go all the way back to 2020. Steel was somewhat affordable, lumber was stable, and labor costs were very predictable. Then the pandemic hit. Supply chains broke, and the construction costs went completely crazy. Steel prices nearly doubled, lumber went through the roof, and at one point, lumber prices went from around $300 per 1,000 board feet all the way up over to $1,700. That's almost 5 times higher than normal. Now, since then, things have settled down. Lumber prices today are back closer to $400 to $500, which is still $200 more, right? But that, steel has stabilized around $800 to $900 per ton. So material prices are no longer in panic mode. But here's the thing that most people overlook. Labor costs. Labor costs never went back down. Electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, framers, almost every trade increased dramatically over the last few years. So if Barndominiums are not insanely cheap anymore, why are people still building Barndominiums in 2026? The answer comes down to flexibility. A traditional house is designed mostly for living, but a Barndominium can be designed for living and working. You can combine home with a shop. You can have huge garages. You can store equipment, boats, RVs, business tools, all in the same structure. And that kind of flexibility is something traditional homes usually don't offer. Another reason people still choose Barndominiums is construction speed. Yeah, it's much faster to build one than building a regular house. A steel building shell can go up incredibly fast, sometimes in just a few weeks. Once the structure is standing, the rest of the work happens inside. Now, that saves time compared to like a traditional stick-built framing. And finally, there's durability. Steel buildings are resistant to termites. Obviously, they're steel. They can handle extreme weather well too. And they can tend to require less structural maintenance over time. So for people who want space, durability, flexibility, Barndominiums still make a lot of sense in 2026. Now let's talk about where most people get into trouble, because this is the part most YouTube videos really don't talk about. They just like to show the beautiful things, right? The first mistake is understanding interior costs. Because, people see the price of a building shell, like a steel building, and they think the whole project will be cheap. But the shell is just one part of the project. Inside, you still need framing, insulation, electrical, plumbing, drywall, flooring, cabinets, bathrooms, kitchen appliances. You see what I'm saying? Like, you need all that. And that all adds up very quickly. I found out the hard way, because I made that mistake. So don't make the same mistake I did. And that's where many barndominium budgets get blown. 100%. The second mistake is financing. Some banks still don't really understand barndominiums very well, so getting a construction loan sometimes can be complicated. You in some cases, you may need to get with a local lender or a credit union that has experience with these types of builds. The third mistake is hiring the wrong contractor. I keep telling you this. A barndominium might look simple from the outside, right? It's just a metal building. But the interior construction still requires proper building techniques, just like a regular house. Insulation and moisture control are especially important in metal buildings. If that part is done wrong, you could have condensation problems and comfort issues inside the house, for sure. So choosing the right builder is very critical. Now, here's the interesting part. Despite all the cost increases over the past few years, 2026 might actually be a pretty good time to build a barndominium. And there are a few reasons why. Well, first, construction materials are finally stabilizing, right? We're not seeing the crazy spikes we saw during the pandemic. That makes planning your project much easier. Second, contractor availability has improved a lot. During the construction boom, it was extremely hard to get somebody to come even look at your job or give you a quote. Now, there's many contractors that they have a lot more availability, and they're willing to negotiate pricing because there's a lot of work. Third, land opportunities still exist in many rural areas. Barndominiums tend to be built outside the dense neighborhoods anyway, so if you can find the right property, man, you still have a lot of flexibility to design something very unique. And lastly, lifestyle trends are still pushing for people towards larger multi-purpose buildings. People want space. They want workshops. They want home offices. They want garages and storage. And barndominiums provide all of that in one structure. So, let's answer the question. Is building a barndominium worth it in 2026? For many people, yes. Yeah, it's still worth it. But the reason isn't just for price anymore. It's lifestyle and flexibility. It's the ability to design a home that fits you how you actually live and work. Barndominiums aren't a magic cheap house anymore. They're not. But they're still one of the most practical and customizable ways to build a home. If you want space and functionality, and that's why people are still building them. If you're thinking about building a barndominium, drop a comment below and tell me where you are in the process. Are you just starting your research? Are you just pricing land? Or are you already building? Are you in the middle of building a barndominium already? I'd love to hear what stage you're in. And if you want more videos like this, about barndominiums, about costs, and real construction advice, not Pinterest dreams, make sure you subscribe, because we're going to be covering a lot more. Thanks for watching. Hit that like button. See you guys in the next video.